Okay guys, I wanted to make a video about stopping power, and I want to focus in on the 22 specifically. I've done a couple of videos on 22 and they create a lot of debate going both ways in the comment section, and I thought I'd follow up a little bit more on that. Now I'll start off again. I don't believe the 22 is the ideal caliber for personal protection. I prefer a little bit larger round myself. I'll go somewhere 9 to 45. But I'm not saying that a 22 cannot get the job done. In the United States, there's more people killed every year by the 22 more than any other caliber. Now you've got people that'll come out and say, well, that's only because there's more 22s out there. Well, fine. I'm not going to dispute that because I don't know the numbers. But I do know that if the 22 kills more people in the United States every year than any other caliber, then that proves that it's lethal. The 22 is the most underestimated caliber of all. Now, in these debates, you always hear a lot of stories. It's just basically the same argument, and every single caliber has the same argument. And for all of them, probably from 22 to 50 cal. But it's the same thing. You hear lots of stories of people who are shot and they fall. They drop like a sack of potatoes. And then on the other side you hear stories where, veterans say that they're in combat and the guy's shooting at him. He takes several hits and he still keeps coming. He probably kills a couple of them, and then he's finally out for the count. He falls and he bleeds out and dies. And the video where the cop and the veteran get into a shootout and the cop is killed even though he shot the guy in the stomach twice with a 9 or a 40, I forget what it was. But the veteran took a couple hits and he got in his truck and drove off. Now I think a lot of that has to do with just their state of mind. When you're in combat, you've got a lot of adrenaline in your system. It's a life or death situation. These guys get prepped up for that. They built their stuff up psychologically. If you look at the video where the cop and the veteran, before the shootout started, the guy's dancing around. He's hopping around like two guys about to get into a fight, get their blood moving, get ready for what's going on. He knew what he was going to do. And the guys in combat, they know they're probably dead anyway. So they're expecting it. That's a big thing to think about. As opposed to the guy that comes into your house at night. He's not expecting a life or death situation. He knows that might happen. But that's not what he's expecting. If he thought so, he wouldn't go in there. If that was the case, they would break in your house. More houses would get broken into that have protected by Second Amendment or something. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking to get the hell out of there. So that's a big difference there, and that's something to think about. I have never been shot. But some of you all have seen my scars. Those of you that know me back in the day, that have followed me to YouTube, you know that I was hacked up pretty good with a meat cleaver. If you look at some of the videos, I've got a pretty couple bad scars on my hand. And some of you have seen some of the others. So I don't know what it's like to get shot, but I do know what it's like to have a hell of an adrenaline rush. And if it wasn't for adrenaline, I'd be dead. Bleeding out, I was able to put up a hell of a fight. And I'm not that tough. I'll admit that. But that adrenaline, it's meant to block out pain. It's meant to keep you going. And it does a damn good job of doing so. The body's defense mechanisms play into it. But it took a little while. After I'm like, well, I'm gone anyway, so I might as well, mess this guy up as bad as I can. And here I am. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. So that's a big factor that people were overlooking, I think. Of course, you've got different things like the size of the target. Of course, if it's a smaller guy, and I'm just assuming, I assume most robberies are committed by guys. I'm assuming, but anyway, let's just go with that. You hit a smaller guy, well, you got a better chance of hitting a vital organ or something, that smaller bullet's going to have a bigger effect. If it's a big burly guy, well, you know, if you look at people shooting it at clay and water and ballistics gel, it doesn't really mimic the body that well. I mean, you can chop into wood with a saw and you can hit a knot or something. There's all kinds of different variables that people don't look into. Okay, it went through, 2 gallons of water, but how is it going to react against the human target? You can get that as an idea of reference, but it's not the same thing. I guess I would say probably, when someone goes out there with a pork shoulder or something, with a big old pot roast of some sort and blast the hell out of that, that's probably a better idea. But one thing about the 22, if somebody can't handle a larger caliber, let's say you're not good with follow-up shots, and you're halfway decent with getting shots on target. Well, let's say you have a 45, and you fire and you miss. Well, if you can't hit the first time, how are you going to get back on target and get the second or third? I mean, yeah, you can empty a magazine, but you're going to have your adrenaline going too. You're going to be in the heat of the moment, and you can have some recoil. If you're not that good at it, you don't have that much practice. Well, it may not do you that well to have a larger caliber. If you shoot somebody with a BB gun and you hit them, it's going to do a hell of a lot more than if you fire a cannon at them and you miss. Now, I'm not comparing the 22 to a BB gun, but you get my point. In World War II, after World War II, it was decided the more rounds you throw at an enemy, the better your chances are of winning. That's why we moved from the M1 Garand to the M14. The M1, it was a hell of a powerful round, and it had some recoil, and it was not the easiest thing to get back on target with a larger recoil like that. Effective out to 1,000 meters, but when combat's 200 to 300, it doesn't really help you, so they went to smaller calibers. So you can throw more rounds more accurately at the target, and you have a better chance of winning. So that's something to think about. If a 22, if you're, accurate with that little thing, it doesn't matter if it's smaller. You're going to get that target, and you're going to be able to hit it. And then you've got arguments about a larger bullet. Well, if the guy's wearing body armor, okay, a larger bullet can cause trauma to the body just with the like getting hit with a sledgehammer. Maybe it doesn't pierce your body, but the hit would do some damage, while a 22 wouldn't do anything. But if you think about the North Hollywood shootout, I mean, that's not going to make the guy invincible either. 223 is, I mean, hell, it's basically a 22, a glorified 22. A bit larger, but not that much. Hell of a lot more powder, but the guy was killed. They couldn't pierce the guy's body armor, so they shot his feet and legs up, and he bled to death. So it didn't really save him either. In a situation, you're probably going to fire at the legs, but you can hit him in the arms and all. I mean, you can't do shit if you get shot up in the arms, and you could have that kind of accuracy. Now, let's say, going back to it, my situation. Even though I was hyped up on adrenaline, let's say he would have got me in the head with that cleaver, I wouldn't be here right now. Now, with a caliber with less recoil, you can make that kind of shot if need be. You're not going to just take a couple hits to the head with any caliber and just shake it off. I mean, you can't even take a punch like that, like they do in the movies. They just shake it off, Hell no, you get hit in the head with just a fist and it's like a news flash. Imagine a bullet. Or anything. I mean, if you were to get somebody with an ice pick, even though it's real thin, hell, that's going to do some damage. You're going to feel it. So although it's not the ideal caliber, it can get the job done. Okay, so if you do decide to go with the 22, let me just go with some of my recommendations, what I would personally do in that situation. You've got a couple things you got to think about. You've got different types of ammunition. I've got to decide, you know, are you going to use something like this is my plinking rifle and my plinking pistol, but if you're going to use something like that, you can use a rifle, you can use a pistol. Because depending on what you're going to use would make a difference in what kind of ammo you want to use. For example, this stuff here, it's hollow point, right? But in order to expand, to really take effect of the bullet's design, you need a velocity. How do you get velocity? Out of a long barrel. So you're not going to have full expansion out of a shorter barrel. Something to think about. So if you're using a rifle, this might work out pretty well for you. Here's that segmented hollow point. It's made to break up in pieces, so I guess this would work out in any case. I've shot it, it ran fine, but I didn't actually look and see how they expanded out of a pistol compared to a rifle. I guess I've got to do that, and I recommend you do that if you're going to put your life on it. But anyway, this is designed to tear apart. I put it in a regular CCI case. Put the top of the box on there so I knew what it was. And there you are. So, handgun, that might be a good way to go. One option. Hollow point, if you're going to use a rifle. This Aguli, I don't know how to say it, but this is some pretty mean stuff. Alright, pretty hot little load here. This outperforms Stingers. So this, and then the solid point. But keep in mind, this solid point, it's like shooting somebody with a crochet needle or something. That might go in and out. Like a 9mm, you might have some over penetration. You don't know who's in the other side. It might hit bone and ricochet in there, but it might not. If you live out in the middle of nowhere, this might be a good option. You can go dig it out of a tree later if you want to, but you know, that's something to think about. My personal favorite for this handgun is this here. 60 grain 22 subsonic. So this might be beneficial to somebody, especially like if you're in a, like my bedroom's pretty small. So if you had a pretty small bedroom or small place, it's not going to be really super loud. You're going to be probably woken up in the middle of the night, you know, kind of half asleep, somewhat disoriented. You're in the middle of you know, sleep and waking up, and the next thing you know, you got somebody in your house probably. So I assume that'd be the home defense scenario. And you know, this is not super loud either, so that, you know, every little bit I guess would help in that stressful situation. And there's no recoil to it really, because it's a 22 and 60 grain. That's something. Here's for my AR-15. Look at this, 55 grain. So for a 22, that's a serious little load. Let me open a box and show you something real quick. Look at that. That's a pretty big bullet for a 22. And like the 223, you know, some idiot, I remember I was explaining how it tumbles when it hits, and he was getting the rifling, so the spin, he got mixed up. Yes, it's going to spin like a football when it comes out of that barrel because it has rifling. But because it's a small, long, super fast projectile, when it actually makes impact, it'll hit and spin because it's a awkward shaped, really fast little bullet, right? And it's a pretty heavy little thing too. Now again, it's a 22. It's not just a 22, it's a 22, and that means it's going to do some damage. People would say just a 22, well, you know, just get stabbed in the chest with an ice pick or a little crochet needle 10 times. It's the same thing. This thing will mess you up. And 10 of them, no recoil shot placement, that could be a pretty mean little home defense firearm. Again, I would recommend you test whatever you're going to keep with you. pick a reliable gun. I like this personally. It works for me. I've tested it out. So if you guys are looking at a 22, that's a mean little guy to go to. Ruger SR 22 and the 1022, which I found all decked out at a Cabela's, so I bought it used. But good little plinking rifle. But hell, if I needed to, hey, why not? It works just fine. No feeding problems with either one of them. And just for those out there that think I'm bullshitting, there you go. That's one of my scars. You know, you've seen them in the other videos. So, and no, it's not true what they say. Chicks don't dig scars. You know, you're out swimming and you look like a fucking tiger, and they just kind of look at you like, everybody, just people look at you like, oh man, you okay? Yeah, they're old, man. I'm fine. You know, it's okay. I'm cool. But yeah. So as far as that adrenaline, the guy that breaks into your house, he's not looking for a fight. He's not looking for that. He's looking to steal something and get the hell out of there. He's not expecting to be looking down the barrel of a gun. It's a big difference between somebody looking to go into a combat situation, you know, knowing they're gonna kill or be killed, as opposed to somebody just going in there trying to steal some valuables and get the hell out of there quickly and quietly. So it's going to be a hell of a surprise. And again, this is the most underestimated caliber of all. You've got great shot placement. With a longer barrel, you'd have some penetration. You get in there, vital organs, you ain't going to have too much time. I'm okay because I didn't have any vital organs cut. Just outside sides, but I was lucky. Had I got a vital organ, I wouldn't be lucky. The same thing there. If I got shot with this in the arm, I'd probably be okay. I got shot and it went into my heart, my lungs, I'm lung shot, I'm probably not going to be okay. So, although it's not the ideal caliber, it can get the job done. And it's way underestimated. Anyway, something to think about. I hope this helps you guys. If you got questions, you know, shoot me a message. I'm sure you'll get a lot of comments in the feed, in the comment section anyway. So a lot of feedback. So read some of that. You can learn a lot of good stuff on there. I do stuff I don't even think about sometimes. Anyway, hope it helps you. Hope you learned something. And if not, you know, tell me. Give me your 2 cents on that. Maybe I'll learn something again. You have a good one.